Hello, we are live. It is October 23rd, 2023, and you are watching the fourth episode of the DOVECOTE. Today's guest is Riley Rethal. Say hello.
Hi.
Hi. Uh, welcome. Welcome to my little bird lair, where all
Thank you
my
so
funny
much.
birds are.
I'm so happy to be here.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm good. Uh, so, I guess we'll start with the interview phase. For the first time ever, I'm actually going to remember to bring the birds in. Um, so we need to get Intrero, the interview bird, in here. Uh, Hang on. There we go.
Wow.
And
Beautiful.
now the interview can officially begin. Um, so I know. I mean, one of the things that you had mentioned to me as we were going through our news stuff for the next section, is that you have not been like in the weeds of TTRPGs for a bit. Is that accurate?
Yeah, way to just start with calling me out. Yeah. Um yeah, okay, the thing is that happened is that in February 2022, I on a whim decided to download and play this little visual novel called Ace Attorney.
Right.
And it sort of took over my life and I started writing fan fiction again. And then before I could really fully even finish that hyperfixation, Andor started and took over my life. And now I'm really into 40s movies for some reason. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've been doing a lot of like fan fiction writing and less TTRPG writing for the past like 2 years.
Can you tell me about the 1942 American romantic drama film Casablanca?
Never heard of it.
That's most of the posting that I've seen. It's made me very happy. I love seeing. I don't know. It's just it's good. We'd love to see it. Um.
Listen, it's a really good movie is the thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the kind of person who, like, sees people talk about how good a classic thing is and assumes that it must be good, especially because, like, I've never been a fan of classic books. So, like, I've gone through this before where it's like, my mom really wanted me to read Catcher in the Rye, I couldn't do that shit. Like, I tried to read Pride and Prejudice after getting into Lizzie Bennet Diaries, when what I really loved was multimedia stuff. Um but anyways, I was like, "Oh, yeah, you should watch Casablanca," and I was not expecting it to, like, be the best movie ever made, but it is, so the guys who decide what things are good, they did a good job at least once.
Yeah. Um. That's good. I guess before we get too deep into that stuff, since this is an RPG show, I guess we should probably talk about what RPG stuff you have done. I
Yeah,
actually
hell
have your
yeah.
itch up here. So I guess what stuff would you direct folks to if they had to like if you know like what stuff do you think is really crucial from your lineup here?
Yeah, so I think hmm, I feel like all the ones up there, those 6 are pretty good ones. We've got Venture and Dungeon, which is, Venture is the one by me, and then Dungeon is by J Dragon, which are 2 different Belonging Outside Belonging games exploring kind of like the D&D high fantasy space in different ways. That was the first BOB game that I wrote, and it yeah, I kinda just, like, took all of the D&D classes, there's 6 of them, and was like, "Okay, that's cool that, like, you have these archetypes that are basically just now you're gonna kill stuff. But what if, like, we actually explored what those looked like as, like, characters and, like, the personal relationships that you would have? Like, okay, you're a cleric. What is it like to, like, have a relationship with a god? You're a rogue. Like, what does that mean about, like, your politics and your understanding of the world and stuff like that? Um, and
Yeah,
then, yeah, it's one of those games where, like, I haven't really looked back at it in a long time, like, it just kind of it's just kinda out there, but I bet it's good.
I
Let me
really
know.
like that
Read
film.
it somebody read it in the chat, read it, let me know if it's still good.
I quite like it. Uh,
Thank you.
Remind me, you did Venture, right? I was confused the
Yeah,
two. Okay. Yeah, Venture, I really like Venture. I feel like there are a million different like exorcisms of D&D. uh and
Mhm.
I feel like you did one of the better ones. And then obviously Galactic 2E, which is like great and is like hatched a a colony in its own right. Um, I
Yeah.
really like that
It,
game.
thank you.
Honestly, this is gonna be a shame for me, the Jewish RPGs lady. I have not read DOVECOTE, and I really should. Um,
Wow, SMA.
it seems great. Tell me a bit
Yeah.
about that one.
Yeah, so DOVECOTE is a Jewish RPG anthology that was organized by me and JR Goldberg at Wrestling Bubble on Twitter. Um, and it's got what, like 12-ish
Probably getting an
games.
answer on that.
Um,
10 plus.
10 plus. Yeah, that sounds right. Games by different Jewish RPG designers. So my game, Ayeka, which was inspired by I was at a Jewish camp counselor seminar in 2020. Nope, 2019. I was not at a camp counselor seminar in 2020, I assure you. Um and for one of like the I was in like the writing track, and we read part of Genesis where like, you know, Adam and Eve eat the fruit of whatever and God is upset with them, and I was like, that's interesting." And so during all of we had like every day, you know, on the 3 days, we had different prompts to write, and instead of writing any of those, I wrote a game,
That rules.
that was kind of like, "Oh, what if you were Adam and or Eve and you had a relationship with the gods?" It's like a two-player. I've never actually played it. I
Huh.
should maybe do that eventually. Um,
That's how
and
it
then
goes.
it really is.
Yeah.
It truly is. Um It's got other really cool stuff. Um, Mac, aka Afel, wrote a game about literally wrestling with God.
Fun.
Um, Adira Slattery wrote a game about the Wise Men of Helm, which is
Ooh,
great.
nice.
At
It here
least
is
one
cool.
game about golems.
Good.
Good
As it
stuff.
should be, obviously.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
you got it.
Um, any of these other ones you want to talk about?
Yeah, yeah. I can talk about the next row too,
Hell yeah.
because those are some of my. Yeah, so the riot starts as fun. It is my like Hades Town AU. Or I guess like Hades Town sequel where they do a revolution. Um, I started that was I started writing a second edition like right before um Ace Attorney broke my brain. So I'd really like to get back to that eventually. Um, so it's there's like different archetypes that are inspired by different like characters of Greek myth, and you do a revolution in the underworld. And what I really like about that one is that it was in like my early days of writing RPGs. Um, it was very like it was one like a lot of that stuff I was just like I would just write it
Right.
and be finished, and it was like a very quick turnaround. But that one I was like I really need to like get the Hades Town vibes correct. And so it ended up like taking a while and a couple of different like iterations of dice mechanics, and I'm really happy with the sort of like going with the themes of like community versus alienation is a big thing in Hades Town and in that game.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
Also,
I
the Hades Town official Twitter account has never acknowledged it. I think they like blacklisted me or something before that came out because I would occasionally be annoying them about like themes of anti-capitalism and stuff.
that's fucked
They
up.
followed me at one point and they unfollowed me. Anyway, sorry, what were you
We're
saying?
gonna throw a fit about that. No, we're not actually, but
If you're listening to this and you run the Hades Town Twitter account,
I've not watched
fight
Hades
me.
Town, but it seems like a good musical.
It's good. I highly recommend the off-Broadway recording or
Yeah,
the concept album.
I'm very careful. I'm being very careful not to make enemies. No.
I'll make an enemy of anyone who runs the Hades Town Twitter account or who likes the Broadway version. I don't care.
Damn, that's uh next level.
At me.
Um, yeah. Sorry, I wish I had more to say about Hades Town. It's just I know when I used to run my D&D 5e game, my friend, I actually have not talked to Babs in a while. My friend Babs sent me a Hades Town song and was like, "This is these two characters," and that's all I know about Hades Town.
That's fair. It's good.
It's
I
like
like
that.
it. I'm normal about it. I'm
Hell yeah,
normal about Orpheus Hades.
Orpheus Hades Town. I do like Greek myth, so maybe it would interest me. Um, you want to talk about Riot Starts or Dust to Midnight at all?
I did see you pull up the wrong game. I was just talking about the Riot Stars.
Oh, I'm dumb.
That's
The
the
Riot
Hades Town
Starts
one.
is okay. I was in the wrong order. The Riot Starts is
It's
the
alright.
Hades Town one.
They're both song lyric titles. So, you know what?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Dusk to Midnight is the game that I made for I guess one of the two games that I made for the Sad Mech Jam shout out, which is about doomed soldiers in a losing war. It's I mean, I feel like there's a couple different games that are like in contention for my favorite, and this is definitely one of them. I really like the mechanics that I did that are sort of like um so you have different stats that are based on your relationship with things and people. So you have a relationship to the war, you have a relationship to your mech, and to your like your special skill that you get to pick, and then also to all of the other characters. And those go from 1 to 6, 1 being a really negative relationship, 6 being a really positive relationship. And you have a better chance of success if it's on one of those more extreme ends versus the middle. So like if you care a lot negatively or positively, you're more likely to have a like one of the positive results. And it's very much a game that is like about kind of like seeing what happens before you all die or desert. It is very much like a storytelling game in that way, and I think I've heard people talk about it in a very like, "Oh, this is so bleak." But, like, I've had some of the most fun games of this because the bleakness is so inherent that you have to be like, "We're gonna make this fun."
Yeah. I feel like what year was this? What year to make this? 2019.
2019.
You kind of got in early on the like games that are like the Doom Spiral games. I feel like a little bit because I feel like that's a
I do
big
love I
thing
love a
now.
tragedy. I love a doomed I love to think about how war is bad. I'm not a cool robot person. I'm very much a war is bad person.
Love that. Also, you got the Friends of the Table play, which is very cool.
Yeah, they were my first playtesters.
Hell yeah. Awesome.
Huge shout out to Memphis Longhands and the Talk Brothers.
Hell yeah. I never got around to Partisan. I really should because I really liked. The only Friends of the Table season I've listened to in its entirety besides Spring and Hyron is Twilight Mirage.
Well, that's a guess. Love Spring and Hyron.
Yeah.
One of my favorite seasons for sure. Twilight Mirage also exists.
Yeah. It's not comprehensible, but it is the first one I listened to. So
I love that for you.
yeah. And then it's been a long time. Long time, sorry.
Yeah, this is another like definitely one in contention for my favorites. It's the one that I've played the most. I've played this an absurd amount of time.
Mm.
um it is so I watched all of Black Sails in 4 days. And then I wrote this game in like 2 days. Um but yeah, it's basically about it's a card-based game with like card prompts. Every suit represents a different time period in this relationship. So it's about characters who are in love, whether that's um acted upon or not. You can kind of decide that, and then are separated, and then at the end reunite. And um it's it's very fun. I've played it a lot. I have like a couple friends where we just have like shared universes where we just play a bunch of e-ball. That's what
Hell yeah.
the shortening is. IBALLT e-ball or ibalt
Oh, I
depending.
misread
Um
this. See, listened to Jeff and Ivalt play on Party. It's like, who's Ivalt? But no, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
uh,
Uh,
did I write it wrong?
no,
I
you
can't
read it right. I just,
like
my
that.
eyes don't work.
That's, you know, it,
Yeah.
um Yeah, named after, of course, It's Been a Long, Long Time by Harry James and his orchestra from the, Captain America: The Winter Soldier sound.
Love that. Um, hell yeah. And also a lot of other cool games you've worked on, um, supplements. So I recommend folks I linked Riley's itch. I recommend folks check it out, buy some of her games. They're all very good. Um,
Great.
yeah. Uh, Besides games that you made, I'd love to talk about I guess have you played anything recently? I guess I should ask that. That really grabbed you.
Yeah, let's see. I haven't been playing a ton. I really like to start playing games again. I'm so bad at planning things, but I also, like, do have a lot of free time because at the moment I'm just, like, studying,
Mhm.
for, like, pharmacy exam stuff. So I really should. I keep thinking that. The most recent game that I played was I Have the High Ground by Jess Levine,
Oh
which
yeah,
is
it's a
great.
great one.
I also recently re-listened to, and I gotta talk to Jess about, like, putting this on an actual feed somewhere eventually, because I think it's probably my best actual play I've ever done, is we did a recording for the crowdfunder, um, which is also great. But yeah, it's a very cool two-player game about, like, the posturing before a duel using fencing terminology and vibes.
Yeah. Um, Jess is very cool. I've been talking to Jess lately. And yeah, very. I don't own. I've here's the problem. Is I this is the problem with TTRPGs, right? Is that I I hear about a game and I'm like, oh, that's by a person whose work I've enjoyed, and then I'm like, I like that. But then I look at itch.io and it's like, you don't own that Eclipse. You don't have that game. Uh, which I kind of think is the reason why a lot of things are the way they are. But
So true. We live in a society.
we live in a society where games are objects and creators are like, you know, it's a mess. I'm part of it. But yeah,
So true.
I still like to play this. Uh, any I guess more broadly, like any favorites that you'd like to mention, any touchstones that you think would be valuable in understanding your kind of preferences in terms of design.
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I think probably, yeah, I have, like, a couple that I think are big. One being For the Queen by Alex Roberts, which is, like, if you put a gun to my head and told me to pick a favorite RPG, definitely For the Queen. I've played it a lot of times, a lot of them with campers when I was, a camp counselor doing RPG stuff.
Hmm.
I actually got to visit the camp that I worked at this summer,
Hell yeah.
which was very cool, except for getting COVID.
Oh no.
Um, but, it's fine. And I got to play that with some new generation of campers because the campers that I had are now either counselors in training or counselors themselves, which is wild.
Yeah.
And two of them are now running the RPG elective, which is crazy. Um,
I had to go to my university recently for a thing, and I was like, could I go up to the LGBTQ org office that I used to run? It's like, no, because no one there is going to know who you are. um, it's crazy how fast time flies in that regard.
yeah. Well, I guess I was lucky because my former campers, now counselors, were like hounding me to go and
Nice.
were hyping me up before I visited, so I got a lot of, "Oh, you're Riley, yeah, I've heard about you," and I'm like, "I swear I'm like a regular human person.
Oh, that's
Whatever
nice.
my kids told you."
I mean, both nice
Um,
and scary, right? Like, yeah,
yeah, no, like, nobody was actually that weird about it. It was just very funny, like, "Wow, I'm a legend here." At least for the next couple years, I will be.
yeah,
Um,
wonderful.
love those kids.
Hell yeah,
Was that, I feel like I was saying something. Oh, For the Queen,
for the
it's
queen.
really good. It's definitely my favorite game to, like, introduce people to role-playing games and also to, like, snap people out of the D&D sort of mindset of, like, power gaming and um, trying to, like, quote, unquote, "win" a game, you know? I
Mhm.
think, like, a lot of the games that people recommend for, like, transitioning from D&D to other stuff, like, I don't have any problem with that, and this is also just, like, me and the way that I play games is, like, I don't like stuff where you're trying to win. Like, that just doesn't
Yeah.
work for me for, like, RPGs. Like, I love a board game where I'm trying to win, but I don't wanna mix that with the storytelling because it messes with my brain. Um, but anyways, I think a lot of games that people recommend, like, "Oh, do, like, a PBTA sort of thing," or, like, Blades in the Dark. I think it can be really easy to continue the D&D mindset in those and not, like, fully commit yourself to the story game. Um, which is part of the reason why I really like For the Queen, because it's like, "Listen, the only thing we are here to do is to tell a good story. There is no way to win. There is no way to do anything else. You
Yeah.
are simply, you know, like, the all you do is you say stuff about your character and you ask questions, and it's great, and I love it."
I linked the Evil Hat page. I'm just gonna link the SRD because that's probably better because you can't get the Evil Hat game anymore, sadly.
"Oh, you
Um,
can't?
yeah, apparently not.
Hmm,
Yeah,
that's a shame."
no, it's been discontinued as of October 1st, 2023. And reprint is not in the works. But there is a second
Sweet.
edition being worked on.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
okay, well,
nice.
I'm gonna have to look out for that, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I
Cool.
do definitely agree though. I think like uh, I see. Here's the problem is I'm getting like sucked into this stuff now, so I have to be like diplomatic about it. I used to be much more bombastic about like my distaste for Lancer, but now I play RPGs with people who like Lancers, so it's like I have to be
Mm,
nice. Um, I I don't really get the like the blending like role play and strategy thing. It doesn't really do anything for me. Um, because it always feels weird. Sort of the thing that you identified, which is that like as you're like role playing your character and trying to create interesting stories for your character, you're often also trying to win a scenario against the GM, which just feels odd. And I also definitely agree that like that's kind of infested PBTAs and Force in the Dark and all that stuff. Um,
yeah, I mean, like, I think I have a lot of respect for that as, like, a form of play, like, you know,
mhm.
Friends at the Table is that a lot, and I love it. Like, it's definitely not like I think this is bad, it's just like
Yeah,
it does not work for me.
yeah, totally understandable. I'm also certainly the same way. Where yeah, I think that it's definitely a valid design philosophy, but I prefer when things go bad in interesting ways, and it's not necessarily at the end of the world. Um,
Yeah,
or it
a
is in a
big thing
fun
for
way,
sorry, what'd you say?
or it is the end of the world, but that's kind of part of the part of the fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very much like, I don't really like playing an individual character, making,
Mhm.
like, taking initiative in an individual sort of way, because, like, that's what I do every day
Yeah,
as a real person. Like, I think the way that I've said it before is, like, I don't want the power fantasy of, like, being a super powerful warrior who wins all the time or whatever. I want the power fantasy of being the narrator.
yeah, that's
I don't like, I wanna control my failures in the same way that, like, that feels like it has more agency to me than, like, you know, having a lot of skill points or whatever.
yeah. I am definitely more in the like for my personal taste the like hero fantasy side of things, but I do also really enjoy like a town or like a community focused game or even just a game that's like you're mentioning like about kind of narrating the
Mhm.
the threads of fate for a group of characters. Yeah.
Oh,
uh
actually, I just remembered recently I also played, Starcraft, also by Alex Roberts. Shout out. Shout out to Alex Roberts. I played so the 2 games that I've mentioned are I Have the High Ground by Jess Levine and, um, for the Queen by Alex Roberts, and I also played Starcrossed by Alex Roberts with Jess Levine,
Oh, nice.
because
Here we go.
yeah, because Jess DM'd me before the recording of they did a Party of One episode where they combined the 2
Okay.
games, which is very fun. They do, like, they're alien diplomats.
I still have to listen to that. That sounds so
I listened to
exciting.
the first part of it, but I never finished it. I should do that.
Yeah.
Um, and so Jess DM'd me like, "Hey, do you wanna play Starcross tomorrow? Because I'm about to do a recording with Alex Roberts, and I've never played." And I was like, "Hell yeah, let's do it." And we played, French resistance people in Vichy and lesbians. It was fun.
Love that. Um, Party One is such a great like thing. I really as I've listened to more and having been on there recently myself, like I really appreciate what Jeff is doing over there. It's really really good.
Yeah, huge shout out to Jeff Stormer, he's great.
Yeah, I should get Jeff on
And
the
also, it's
DOVECOTE.
one of the reasons that I watched Casablanca, so
Hell yeah,
shout out for that, I guess.
love that. Um, are there any upcoming RPGs that you're excited for? I know you mentioned you haven't really been in the zeitgeist recently. Mhm.
Yeah, so my good friend Luke Jordan, of Games from the Wildwood, is publishing 2 of their horror BOB games. I'm trying to remember the titles of
Oh
them.
yes, I think I know what you're talking about.
With Possum Creek, which I'm very excited about. I don't think I've read either of those. Maybe one of I'm sure that, like, they've sent me snippets when they were writing them back in the day, but I absolutely love Luke's, like, general work. Um, Heaven in the Dust is one of the first BOBs they wrote, which is also Hades Town inspired. It's about Greek gods in the Dust Bowl, which is, like, hugely inspirational for me and my BOB design.
Hell yeah. Yeah, so it's Grand Guignol and Harvest.
Yeah, yeah.
I've seen Harvest being made, but I have not read it.
Fair
um,
enough.
I was there when decisions were being made about pick lists and such,
Mhm.
but I don't know much more about it. I know it's like weird old England type stuff, and then Grand Gwinnell. I'm not sure how you say that. Guignol
No idea.
is more like city streets, which sounds really fun. Um, I love gothic horror freak games.
Hell
Hell yeah,
yeah. Yeah,
good stuff.
I am not a horror, but I respect the hustle.
Yeah, I the thing about me is like I don't watch horror movies and I don't play horror video games because I get scared very easily. But I love reading horror,
Mm,
because I like being able to pace it out, and I like writing horror. I'm like Junji
yeah,
Ito in that
I'm
way.
not. I'm simply not.
Yeah, fair enough. Um, my partner recently for a stream put together a Minecraft mod pack that had a bunch of scary mods, and she was actively concerned that I was like like I sounded so scared that she was like actively worried for me. It was very good. Um
Like, I don't even know, like, like, avoid it so much because, like, I know that I'm a little tiny baby
hmm,
that, like, who knows? Maybe there's horror out there. Like, most of it I I wish that I could watch horror stuff just so I could watch Jordan Peele's movies. I feel like those are like, not even, like, the general, like, elevated horror, like, just Jordan
hmm.
Peele, like, his shit seems really tight.
Yeah,
Like,
Get
I
Out's
think I'd be
great.
into that. If I was gonna consume horror, it would be that.
Yeah, I still have not watched Us or Nope, but I really liked Get Out. um good good movie. um what else do I have? uh I mean, trying to think of anything else. Is there anything that you'd like to talk about that we haven't talked about? Anything that you think is important to understanding you or your work, or just anything you'd like to discuss?
Um, hmm, I mean, probably. Um, yeah, God, I keep, like, just wanting to Like, keep being like, "Man, I love RPGs. I need to go back to RPG design." And then I keep not. And I think the problem is that I've ended up in this weird disconnect where, like, what would be easiest to make and, like, what part of me really wants is to just, like, make a short little thing like what I used to make in, like, 2019. But
Mhm.
then there's this other part of me that's, like, keeps trying to make all of my ideas bigger and bigger, because, like, now I have the capability of, like, I wrote, Venture and Galactic, and I have a work in progress that's the longest game I've ever written that still, like, isn't even close to done. Um, and, like but then, like, once it gets big enough, I'm like, "I don't wanna start this."
Yeah.
And so, like, it's this horrible little factory that just, like, takes an idea and turns it into something that I don't wanna make anymore, and I need to figure out a way to break that cycle, but I haven't gotten there yet.
I, I think as TTRPG, like I think something that I've seen a lot from like TTRPG writers is that it can be really hard to like get yourself out of cycles like that. And like I don't know, I feel like there's there are some like things that we tell ourselves that can be dangerous. Like I've been like constantly telling myself like, why are you not publishing new TTRPGs, Eclipse? And then it's like, because you're working on Sapphic World, which is huge. And it's like,
That game is huge.
yeah. Um sometimes I feel like there's a lot of stuff that is working on a game that doesn't feel like it, you know? Um
Mhm.
but yeah, I hope you're able to find, you know, find a pace that works for you on that stuff. Because I've been in a similar spot and it can be hard.
Yeah, I wish you know what? Here's what I wanna talk about. We need to bring back themed game jam
Yes.
because, like, I could just be missing them, it's possible. But I back in my day, 2019, there were all these game jams that were, like, themed on stuff, like, write something about mechs, write something about wizards, write something about, a third one. I'm sure that I wrote stuff for other ones that I can't think of right now.
Yeah.
Um, there were, like, a bunch of those, and those are really useful for me because I can take, like, "Oh, here's what I'm interested in the concept of mechs. I'm really interested in, like, um, how fucked up it is to be a soldier in a war. I'm gonna write a game about that." And, like, that's a really good way to, like, make a compact idea, and I feel like all the game jams now are like, "Make a thing based on my game." And, like, I've done some of those. I wrote, like, a trophy supplement, whatever it's called,
Hmm.
incursion for one of those jams. So, like, those also have been useful to me creatively, but I feel like it's so much harder because, like, I'm a very, like, mechanic focused person. So it's like, if you give me cool mechanics, then, like, maybe I'll use them, but if you give me a theme, I'm gonna be thinking of mechanics, and, like, that's what I really wanna dig into.
Yeah.
Um,
I do agree. I think that there is kind of a lack of themed jams lately. Mhm.
I did maybe I should bring it back. That would be crazy. Been, like that was in 2020, so it's been over 3 years. But I did the superhero one that I wanted to do a second iteration, and then
Oh
I never
yeah,
did. Maybe I should do that.
that'd be cool. Um, I'm being asked if Sapphic World is has reached 800 pages yet. There are 873 pages of content for Sapphic World. That doesn't mean that the actual book is going to be that long.
Oh my
Um,
god. Eclipse, that's so many. That's
yeah.
so many.
Well, like the thing about Sapphic World is I've made like years of content for it, so like I've made enough for like a book and then like a dozen zines,
Oh
which
my
is
god.
probably what I'm gonna do. Um,
That's so powerful of you. I like, even when I talk about, like, "Oh, yeah, I wanna now my brain is only letting me write games that are big," like, it's nowhere near that, you have to understand. I
yeah,
mentioned the work in progress that I have, that's the longest game I've ever written, is, like, 13,000 words.
I can't make a game this big ever again.
I agree.
Yeah, it's a funny idea, uh,
Mhm.
but you can't make a game that's It's like almost 200,000 words. It's 170,000 words at this point, which is
That's so many
fucking
fucking words.
nuts. Um, yeah. That it is what it is.
That's like 17 of my longer games.
Yeah.
I think my
It's
longest published game is Galactic 2E, which is like less like a little under 10K. So like
yeah. I think it's just like I started thinking about this setting, and then I was like, what if I just like fully imagined all of it like now, and then I did that, and then I looked back and it was huge.
that's crazy. Good for you though.
Thank you. Yeah. I guess we can move on to news. I need to remember. I made an error. I made a serious error, which is that, and this would have happened no matter what. There's war in this world, but the concept of the news bird was that it was like a bird coming from the battlefield, but obviously we can't do that now. So
Mhm.
this is just a bird who's at peace, who's coming to tell us about the news. We're gonna
That's
bring
beautiful.
Cortus in. Oh shit! No, no, no. Okay, there we go. Cortus is here. So I'm actually gonna shrink you a little bit while we talk about the news, just so it's a bit more, uh, a little bit more legible. Actually, I'll just move this here and I'll kind of scooch you. There you go. So our first story is this. We're gonna be talking about this Dicebreaker article and also the stuff related to it. Although I think the article's more interesting than the stuff that it's about, honestly. Because I don't know, there's a lot going on here. So we're gonna be talking about this Dicebreaker article, which is Dungeons and Dragons' latest playtest wants to sell you the dream of being a fantasy landlord. Um, this was noticed by a lot of people on like Twitter, I think especially. Um, and I read through the article and I thought it was really interesting the way that like this was talked about. Um, and I want to kind of talk about it. So the basics of it is D&D 5e has a new one of their like unearthed arcanas, their like playtest material thingies for bastions, which are like late game gold sinks where you are a landlord of a like fortress where people live. Um and the thing that kind of struck me about this Dicebreaker article is that it is both kind of doing the like critique angle and also is kind of just a promotion for this thing that D&D 5e did. And I don't really know how to square that. I know you said that you got a chance to read through it. How did you feel about this?
I read it and like didn't really fully understand
Yes,
what
fair.
was going on. Honestly, I feel like I guess I'm just like, yeah, man, it's D&D.
Yeah, that
Like
is
I guess like my first experience with D&D was watching Critical Role
right.
um way back in what, 2016? Um and I watched the first, I don't want to say a number because those episodes are so long, so it could have just been like 20 20 to 40, somewhere in that range episodes. And like because that first campaign was the continuation of a game, like a home game,
Hmm.
they were pretty high level already and they like had like a fortress that they like went back to after the first or second like arc. And I was like, okay, I guess like this is how D&D works. Like that's very much already in my brain as a thing. So reading this, it's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I I think that the thing about it is like D&D 5e just doesn't really have mechanics for it or didn't before this.
Mm,
Um, I guess to give this article credit, like I think that this bit was really solid. Like this was a really good kind of series of questions. I'll give this a quick read. What kinds of stories will Dungeons and Dragons allow players to tell with this new system? The cynic in me would say the same as its core rules: a power fantasy of exceptional individuals who aren't given the tools to roleplay care and community with the same depth as enacting violence and enriching themselves. Random table rules might send the fantasy cops to arrest a player's ex felon stable hand, and if they neglect a bastion, the rules as written can only imagine it being abandoned, looted, and razed, in that order. Without the direct intercession of the player, what are the small folk to do but become aimless criminals? But also right next to the next D&D 5e source book is for the astrology girlies on Dicebreaker. Which is kind of my issue with this article. And then also the prompt to go to their website. I don't know. I'm troubled by like maybe not troubled, because like how else are you gonna do this as like an official ass website, right? But I'm also just like, do we even need to talk about do we need to talk about D&D anymore? Can we just like pretend it doesn't exist?
Clearly, I'm not even talking about, like, if I'm gonna be talking about RPGs, and I like to be talking about RPGs, I'm not gonna talk about Dungeons and Dragons. I don't even know what that is anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just, if somebody mentions it to me, I'll be like, "Oh, what's that? Oh, it's from the '70s? Okay, that explains why it's so racist."
Right.
Maybe you should play something newer. They've made a lot of improvements since then.
Yeah. What game would you recommend to someone who says they like D&D?
God, I don't know. I'm like so not the right person because I did play D&D
Mm.
back in the day in 2016, 2017, and I never really liked it that much because like I said, I'm not like I don't even like playing like a traditional sort of like PBTA or Forge in the Dark or anything like that because I don't like playing a game where the GM like has all of this power and I'm just like an individual character. I don't vibe with that in general. Um So I'd probably have to, like, ask them more specifically, like, you know, "What parts of D&D do you like?" Maybe I could recommend you something that I don't necessarily like.
Yeah. Oh, Kaleva Streams, thank you for the raid of 8. Welcome. Uh, we're talking to Riley Rethal about RPGs. Slash shout out. Yeah, feel free to stick around. This is the DOVECOTE, where we talk about games and such. I for one would recommend Fellowship, but also I would probably also ask them what, as you said, what they are looking for first. I do think like, I don't know, Fellowship is my preferred fantasy heartbreaker.
Mhm.
But also sometimes
I
like
made a
someone who
really
likes,
cool character for a Fellowship game.
hell yeah.
Never actually got to play it. Felt kind of that was that Fellowship game we did, like, one session. That was very much my, like, "Okay, I don't like this style of gameplay at all."
Yeah.
But, like, shout out. It's a very cool this is the thing with me is, like, I'm so particular and so, like, my tastes are, like, so not what the mainstream games are, is that, like, I have a very good ability to be like, "I don't like playing this at all." Huge shout out, though. Love the game design.
Yeah. I think a good Fellowship GM really allows like I think the ideal fellowship session is really a good chance to mix those kind of two elements of like you are both playing a person and a like society that's kind of behind them.
Mhm.
There's some fun stuff in that game. Yeah. I don't know why I put a story about D&D in here just to say we shouldn't talk about D&D, but that's my takeaway.
Look like you're part of the problem.
I might be part of the problem, but also I don't make any money off of this, so it's like slightly different. This is just
Fair
for
enough.
fun. Um yeah. Um do we want to get the other smaller one out of the way first before we do the really heavy one?
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, let me change the order of these a little bit. So I've been watching the gaming, the TTRPG news sphere. I feel like you're gonna have a really like interesting take on this just because of like the vibe that I get from you. um,
Sure.
so um I'm a person who has tried to use a variety of virtual tabletops over the years. And I have been seeing a lot of articles recently about really like robust virtual tabletops. You got One More Multiverse, you got uh I mean, not roll 20. You got the stuff that we're going to talk about today. Um and I just wanted to kind of amalgamate some stuff about this stuff. So the two big ones that I wanted to talk about, um so there is, let's do this one first actually. Quest Portal, which raised $7.6 million from venture capital, which is a lot. Um which looks basically just like D&D Beyond, but it's different. I, I feel like, I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't actually read those articles. I just read
No,
the
that's fair. Um it's like, I just I feel like we're living in an era of enshittification, and I feel like
Mhm.
this is just the next step of that, and it's kind of like eking into eking into TTRPGs. And so I'm simply putting a watch on this for perhaps future episodes, that there is some big venture capital money going into like VTT stuff. Oh wait, this is AI powered. I guess that's the difference from
Oh,
between this
cool,
and,
good.
right, because it has the little like open AI logo, that little like fucking swirl. So this is
So
like,
this is just like some guys said, "Hey, we're gonna make a thing and it's gonna use AI. Give us money, please." And because of the world that we live in, people did.
yeah, um this is direct. And also it's like D&D brand, which is so annoying. Like, listen, I'm not saying that I want venture capital money to be poured into indie RPGs, but also like, I mean, the Useba's OMM, like the virtual tabletop Useba's is very good. Uh, and if, you know, if venture capital wanted to pour more money into indie VTTs,
No,
I
you
wouldn't
don't
complain.
want venture capital money because venture capital wants money back.
That's true.
This
Um,
is this is the Patreon curse.
yeah, like, I'm not saying that I want venture capital to be involved. I'm just saying if they have to be, maybe
Mhm.
I would love if they didn't pour money into D&D. I want them to waste money on indie
I
RPGs
see, I
that don't
see.
have that much demand. Um, because I want them to die.
Mhm. Well, we're in agreement there.
Yeah. Okay. This I'm actually interested in. So I've been keeping an eye on this. This is, so I do a lot of VR stuff, right? Mostly I kill people with swords in VR because I'm insane. Uh, so this is like, it's a VR like virtual tabletop, but you can like act as your, stop it. You can act as your character in the thing. Like you can like physically act in VR, which I think is like kind of interesting for like mimicking some physical elements in a virtual tabletop. Um it is also like, you're going to be bound to the aesthetic of this company's thing, uh
Yeah.
which looks very D&D, which is kind of always the
Shocking.
issue. Yeah. But, you know, a thing that I'm keeping an eye on. I might stream this at some point actually, because it does look kind of fun. But I don't know. Just some things that I've been keeping an eye on. Um Anyways, I'm gonna switch off this before it goes back to the video. Um yeah. I don't know. Do you have any more thoughts on any of that? I know I kind of just went through it quickly.
Yeah, I guess, like I mean, for the VR thing, I feel like I've already said, like, that's just not the kind of RPGs that I'm interested in. That feels
Yeah.
like one of those things where it's like the author of Ready Player One is like, "In the future, people are gonna play RPGs by acting out what their character does," and it's like, first of all, that's called LARP. Second
Yeah.
of all, no. Like I mean, shout out to any group that wants to use that, but, like, it feels like one of those things where it's like, "This is the future," and, like, no, people play RPGs for reasons that aren't like, "I want to literally act like this character," like,
Yeah.
I feel
I definitely
like
agree.
people have this idea of, like not just in RPGs, but, like, in general, like, talking about VR and all this stuff is like, "Oh, we're gonna make a virtual world that's gonna simulate reality as much as possible," and, like I'm good. The real world already exists. If I wanted to do something in the real world, I would simply do something in the real world.
Yeah, that is definitely true. I suppose for me it's just like the I think there's a lot of like physical uh physical comedy that you can get from VR. Um and I think that there's some potential for some interesting stuff to be done in that space. But also I'm always cynical about it because I'm also like, I don't know. People uh I we live in hell is basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And I don't trust any of it. But also
Mhm.
I'm I'm a rube. I'm I'm the one, like, this is the one thing they might be able to sell me on just because it seems
Mhm.
really fun to play for like one session. Um
Mhm.
and that's how they're gonna get me. Um Speaking of rubes, uh parentheses Zionists. it's
Great start.
yeah, you want to shall we talk about the games for Gaza bundle?
Yeah, look.
Yeah. So this is not out yet. There was some delays on it being released. However, there is uh a Games for Gaza bundle in the works. Actually, this is just the AP stuff. I don't know. I didn't. I lost the actual thing. But actually, I guess this is probably the newest news about it, which is that they're looking for like AP companions. So, or they're working on some AP companion stuff for the bundle. Um, yeah. I know that we had kind of discussed using this as a jumping off point to talk about the situation and fucking Zionists.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess what I'll say about the actual bundle is, the money is going to, Medical Aid for Palestine, which is one of, like, the big charities that I've seen people say to donate to, so, that seems all good. However, I mean, I haven't super looked into it either way, but I don't know how able the money is to get into Gaza right now. So, there's also, like, that to keep I think, like, there is a tendency in the RPG space, and also I'm sure other spaces, to be like, "Oh, there's a political thing going on. Let's all do a bundle so we can donate money," and, like, that's not necessarily always the best possible way to help. So, also, like, going to protest and spreading the word on social media and talking about it is also really important. So I'll probably, like, look into how like, I don't it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know how the money would be able to get in, but maybe it is.
Yeah, I know that humanitarian aid trucks did enter um Gaza on like the 21st. Um,
Mhm.
so I mean, it was like although I don't know if those are connected to Medical Aid for Palestinians. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's one of those things
Yeah,
that it's hard
I
to
don't
tell
know.
where any of that's going. But I mean, I guess the hope is that eventually it'll be availed, to the folks there. Um, I guess one thing that I've been thinking about a lot today in kind of anticipation of this is that like I think there is a tendency in like TTRPG design and like games writing and even like campaign writing to like glorify, maybe not glorify, but like I think that there is a like uh, TTRPG designers like writing revolution games, right? um
I don't know what you're talking about.
uh we like writing about rebels, we like writing about like, militarily and like you know materially uh superior forces versus, the scrappy underdog. um and like obviously I think that the situation is not necessarily that in some ways. Like I think, you know I I personally don't really buy a lot of the stuff that some people are selling around like Hamas being a, you know, a legitimate government within Palestine.
Mhm.
Just based on a lot of the stuff that I've read and like heard from people who were out there. Um, but I do think like, the actual freedom fighters, the people who are simply living there, the people who are taking care of each other, the doctors, the politicians, I think deserve our support. Unless we want to be hypocrites about it, unless we want to be hypocritical and be like, we love rebels and causes, but not like this one,
Not the real ones, though.
not the real ones that actually matter. Yeah. Um, I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about this because my sibling was in Israel for quite a bit. Um,
Mm.
and it was very very scary. And um, one thing that I had to kind of explore in my own feelings was like, um, it thankfully my sibling's safe now, but like, if something bad were to happen to
Oh,
to
they
them.
were in Israel, like, during like,
Yeah,
this
like
month?
in Tel Aviv this month. Um,
Oh, that's
they
crazy.
just got back recently. Um,
Well, that's good.
yeah, but I think one of the things that I'd explore in myself was like, how are you going to feel if something bad happens to him, right? Um,
Mhm.
and the thing that I've resolved, and I think an important thing for people to focus on is having anger for the Israeli government, uh, who created this situation. In the same way
Yeah.
that the U.S. created the circumstances for Al Qaeda and similar terrorist organizations to rise in like the Middle East. I think you don't get Gaza without Israel just creating a situation where all an entire nation's water is poisoned. Their people barely live above the age of 18. Um, it's they have suffered like massacre after massacre after massacre and are currently pretty much suffering a genocide. Um, and Yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Feel free to add.
Yeah, I mean, that's yeah. Yeah, I had a conversation with my mom after, like, it was like, before the really bad Israeli, like, retaliation happened. Maybe it was, like, the day that the original Hamas rockets went off.
Mhm.
Um, and she was, like, really upset with me for seemingly, like, not caring about the victims, and I was like, I'm sorry. I feel like it's really obvious that it's sad when people die."
Yeah,
Um, and, we kind of had to have a whole conversation about, like, the fact that, like, it's not as simple as just being like, the people who killed people in this situation are the bad guys because they just killed people. And my mom is, like, by no means a Zionist. Like, literally, we went to services for Kol Nidre, a couple weeks before that, and the rabbi did this fucking bullshit sermon being like, "Oh, the political situation in Israel is really bad, and the right wing is trying to do a coup. How can you help? Support Zionist organizations."
God, horrible. Yeah, I
And me and my
oh,
mom
sorry.
were, like, shit talking it is the point of that.
Yeah, I
Oh, speaking of, I'm expecting an email or something from her because I left a little note in the confirmation classroom in the synagogue last week,
I
being
saw
like
that. It's very based of you.
yeah, well, like, I was put in that room. I've been helping out at my Sunday school, since I'm living at home at
Mm,
the moment, and I was like, there's nothing I can do for these fucking liberal Zionists, like, they truly think that they're being reasonable and nuanced when they're like, "Well, you have the right to the opinion that that Gaza is undergoing a genocide." Um, I stand with Israel, though. Um, like, there's only so much I can do with that, but I left a note for the kids in confirmation, which is, what, 10th grade? I
yeah,
should know that. 10th grade, I think. and I left it in the little box where they keep their fidgets and candy.
Oh,
Um, and I I assume that the rabbi will email me about it because I signed it.
yeah.
I was just like, "Hey, visit decolonizepalestine.com."
So I mean, thankfully and not thankfully, it's kind of a mixed bag. I've managed to avoid a lot of that stuff because like like my I'll try and be more vague just to avoid doxing myself. One of my parents was grew up, you know, Jewish. One of my parents grew up Christian, and then my Jewish parent converted. So I had a Christian upbringing with Jewish family, um, and I one of the things that I've kind of encountered um is that like I mean not just me obviously, but like there's such a difference between like the range of opinions you're allowed to have if you live in Israel and the range of opinions you're allowed to have if you live in the US about the issue. Quote unquote allowed, right? Um
Mhm.
like there are so many, left wing people in Israel who are, against what the government is doing. There are right wing people in Israel who are also against what the government's doing because they think they should do more, which is insane.
Mhm.
Uh but like I don't know, I really um you can get my understanding is that there's a lot of institutional pushback for pro-Palestinian positions in the US. Um, I back when I used to run like discussion meetings for the queer org at my college, um, I I expressed something that was pro-Palestine, and I watched this girl, this white girl, her face lit up with disgust, and she just left. It's like they
God.
Zionists have like such a victim complex, and it's so it's a lot.
Yeah, yeah, I guess it's, like, weird for me, and I've been talking about this, with people because, like, I grew up in like, at a synagogue that clearly is, like, very Zionist, um, and I didn't go to a Jewish camp, a big, like, Zionist thing that I now know because I worked at one for 3 summers, absolutely loved it besides that, and besides the fact that they gave me COVID this summer,
Oh boy.
those are the 2 big problems, the genocide apologism and the genocide apologism.
Right.
What was I saying though? Oh, like, I did not go to a Jewish camp, growing up, so, like, I don't know how that would've affected me, but, like, we had the IDF soldiers come and talk about how cool Israel is and, like, did our little activities, and none of it did anything for me.
Yeah.
Like, I think and, like, so much of it looking back was very, like, milquetoast lib, like, shit, where I was like, "I don't think the military is cool, I think war is bad." Um, I thought that Jews didn't like theocracy. Um
Right.
Stuff that I still do believe, but, it came from a much more naive place because I was 10. Um, but, like, it's very much like I wish that I could have more, like, sympathy and understanding for people who, like, grew up Zionist and believe that stuff, but to me, it's like, skill issue, I don't know.
Yeah, it is kind of a skill issue.
Like like I don't know how you watch these people who are like, "Israel is under attack. Luckily, the IDF, which we draft all of our children into, is here and strong and ready." Like, that's so fucked up. I know what a dystopia looks like. I read The Hunger Games. Like, I know okay, I hadn't read The Hunger Games when I was 10. But, like, I don't know, the vibes are just so off. I don't I don't get it.
Yeah. Hmm. It's it's also like I get really frustrated because like I'm a person who's kind of come into like my spirituality outside of that structure and kind of explored Judaism just kind of in my own way. Um and like I get really frustrated with the idea that like you have to um like the idea of like the true Jew, right? Like, you
Mhm.
know, the real Jew, like, is a supporter of this state that they've never been to, that's on the other side of the world, um you know, for American Jews. um and I have a lot of like, I don't I don't respect it. I don't respect it. I don't appreciate it. And
You know, it's
yeah.
just very silly.
Yeah,
I mean, also, like, deeply, deeply dangerous and evil, but also very silly, which I guess that's fascism for you.
it is.
Um, yeah,
They
I
are
don't know.
both invincible and protected by an iron dome and constantly surrounded by enemies and the weakest, smallest state in the world, and
Yeah.
blah blah blah
They're
blah
just a
blah.
small bean.
They're just a small bean, but they're so strong, but they're so
Yeah.
weak.
Yeah, I tweeted about it, but, the my synagogue, um, this past Sunday when I went there, they had, like, this the preschool is doing a penny collection to buy boots and other needed equipment for the IDF.
I'm sure they need their boot.
Yeah, and I was texting, yeah, to squish the, I was texting my friend who, like, I met there, like, who, we both grew up going there. She was like, "I can't believe they're treating the IDF like Oliver Twist."
Oh my god. It's really funny.
Like, they're good. I promise you they're good.
There's this uh very much joking and in a character thing that Connor O'Malley said, that was like, Donald Trump is the Israel people constantly surrounded by enemies, and I think, like, you know, uh, something else, but it just, I always think about that because it's like, the in the U.S., like, uh I think liberal Jews try to convince themselves, quote unquote liberal, right? You know,
Mhm.
liberal about domestic policy, Zionist otherwise, try to convince themselves that, like, they are, this is the left wing position, like Zionism is the left wing position, um, but
But it simply never
it's
has
not.
been.
By any other standard, it's right wing. By any normal
Yeah.
standard, it's right wing.
Yeah, I mean, even, like, when you look at, the advent of Zionism was very much like a right-wing position to be like, "Okay, the anti-Semites are right, and Jews are not supposed to be in Europe. Well, we should leave and have our own country, and we just won't bother you anymore." Whereas the, like, very prominent at that point, Jewish left wing with the Jewish Labor Bund and other organizations, I should mention DOVECOTE, the TTRPG anthology is named after the Jewish Labor Bund's, it's a Yiddish word that means here-ness.
Hmm.
It was the Jewish Labor Bund's, like, philosophy about, like, anti-Zionism and saying, like, Judaism is not over there, it's here.
Yeah,
It's in Europe, we already have it. Um, and, like, that is very, very important to me in, like, an anti-Zionist way, obviously, and also just in, like, the general way of, like, Judaism is wherever you are and wherever you create it. And, like, then what happened is then we have then in 19 the late 1940s, Europe is like, "Sorry about doing the biggest anti-Semitism ever and trying to get rid of all the Jews from Europe. In exchange, an apology, will you please leave Europe?"
yeah. Wait, there's a Zionist? What? Duck, are you kidding?
Hmm?
Sorry, I think Duck might be making a joke. They said, "Did y'all talk about the Zionist TTRPG yet?" I don't
Oh, no.
I don't think there is one. Well, I guess there's the Actually, I shouldn't talk shit. I'll wait until that game's out before I say anything about it. I think you know which one I'm talking about,
Yeah,
but
uh-huh.
yeah. Um,
No, I have problems with it, but I don't think it's Zionism.
no, I don't think so either. Um, I think it's Nazism, but that's I'll talk to
Anyways.
that. I'll talk about that when it's out. I'm not gonna talk about things I haven't read yet. Um, but yeah.
I
Uh,
see my first thought was like, "Oh, does The Last of Us have a TTRPG?"
oh my god. Well, yeah, Neil Druckmann, he put out a thing. People have been sucking his dick for so long, being like, "Oh yeah, this guy really sees both sides." You know, actually, Last of Us 2 is about the flaws of both sides. But when it comes time to actually have an opinion on the thing, he is pro-Israel because obviously he is, because
Oh,
he lived there,
shocking.
because he loves when two beautiful, strong soldiers kill an innocent civilian.
Ugh.
um, you want to read some mail, and then we'll call it.
Oh yeah.
We have some really good mail this time. Actually 4 questions, which is quite a bit. A lot of people sent in mail early. This is all from October 11th. First is from Audiovore, a friend of mine. Um, the message reads, also put this in your DMs. And let me get that set up. Hello, Eclipse and guest. I am a longtime player and GM of Dragon Game and similar types of games, Pathfinder 1, etc. I have an idea for a game I want to make real. Very different from what I have experienced playing. A single player RPG inspired by the themes and lore of the Elder Scrolls. Do you have any suggestions for communities or resources for someone who wants to make the jump from GMing to designing? Additionally, do you have any recommendations of single player TTRPGs I should check out to broaden my experience? Thanks, Audiovore. Um, yeah, I have some thoughts. I've seen the I know more about this, but I'm curious if you have any thoughts about where someone should go for design experience and some single player RPGs to look at for ideas.
Yeah, I'm trying to think for, like, design experience because I feel like I just kinda went for it. I didn't really, um I mean, there's, like, some Discord to join. The Brain Trust is a good one that I'm in, that has a lot of designers talking about design. Um,
See if I can find that.
there's that. I'm sure there's other ones that have popped up in the last couple years. The thing is I'm not a big single player RPG person. I they don't The thing that I like about RPGs is that you're doing it with another person. When I try to do it myself, it's like, what am I even doing here? Um, however, um, be like, I've never played one, but I've read some that seem cool for people who are into that. I think Artifact
Mhm.
by is his name Black Harrison? I feel bad I can't remember. Um, I think
Yeah,
that's
Jack
right.
Harrison.
Yeah. Artifact with an E, not an I. I think might be not close. I'm sure that it's not close, like, to the actual story that you wanna tell with yours, but close, like, vibes-wise, at least. It's about, kind of, like, playing the role of a fantasy object and then describing, like, the different owners that you've had and stuff. I actually wrote a supplement for kind of a spin-off game of it called Bucket of Bolts. It's the same thing, but about a spaceship,
Hmm,
which is also cool, but Artifact seems close to the vibe.
neat.
Um, I mean,
I
Thousand Year Old
can,
Vampire is, like, the single
yes,
player game.
I think these are good. Based on what I know about the game that Audiovore is making, these I think these are good reference points. Uh, I know that they're making it's like a I mean basically what they describe a single player RPG based on the Elder Scrolls, which I think will be neat. Um, I would say in terms of going from jamming to designing, just get a document open, just kind of like start thinking about what are the mechanics of your games, what are the mechanics of your game, how do they tie into the themes, and then like how much I mean this is how I tend to do it. I go like how much stuff do I want to make for this game, like how many things, how
Then you
many
say, "Way too much."
yeah, well not always, most of the time I write pretty condensed RPGs, but like how many realms, treasures, and guys do I want to put in this shit, um and that's where I go.
Yeah,
um
I think oh, sorry.
yeah, sorry.
Um, I think, like, for me, the way that I kind of, like, will start a game is I'll be like, what what are, like, the main themes that I want to have in this? Like,
Mm,
what do I wanna, like, have center in this? And kind of, like, it'll be, like, 2 or 3 sort of points that I'll write down at the beginning of the doc, and then sort of, like, always go back to that. Um, and then kind of related, since you're doing it based on a specific property, the thing that I always say, because I've written a lot of games that are based on, like, specific properties, like Star Wars and Hades Town and a bunch of other ones, like, most of my games are based on a specific thing in some way, is, like, what are the parts of this that I want to, like, build the structure of my game on, and then what are the parts that I kind of need to, like, scoop out to let the players, um, you know, tell their story, right? Because like a story is a story. I guess with a video game, it's a little bit different, but, um, you know, when you're reading a book or you're watching a movie, there's, like, the story and it's there. So, like, you
yeah.
need to scoop some of that out to be like, "Okay, you can make a character who's like this or like this. You can tell a story that, it's gonna be in space, you're gonna have a rebellion, but you make your own characters and da da da." Or, like, um, you're gonna be in a mech and you're gonna have a mind meld, but, you won't necessarily be fighting a kaiju, that sort of stuff. Um
I would also say like read a lot of games and then think about like does this game does this game have like the vibe of the thing that I'm trying to like make a pastiche of, and then like try and reverse engineer it. For like a first game, I think that's a good way to go. Um,
Yeah, reading a lot of games is good, and listening to APs.
mhm.
Highly recommend Party of One because, um, those are all, like, individual games played in a single episode, which is great.
Yeah, Party One is definitely a really good starting point. Just like find things uh that seem like they might fit the vibe. Also, I would say these bundles aren't available anymore, but I would look in I would look the contents of the solo but not alone bundles, because those are all solo games. Um,
True.
there's three of those, I believe. Although I'm not sure what happened to the second one. Oh, here we go. Yeah, there's three of them that you can take a look at. Um, yeah. Thank you for that question, Audiovore. Uh, next we have three questions from quote unquote three different people, which is really one person. Um, so I guess we'll go through these one at a time. The first question is from Aesthetics Freak 22. Um, they ask, um, what kind of aesthetic do you cultivate in your work and why? Um, I don't know if you want to try and tackle that one first.
Um, Aesthetic. I'm, like, so not an aesthetics person most of the time. If we're thinking about aesthetics just as, like, visuals, I'm not a very
Hmm.
visual person is really what I mean. Um, and I think a lot of the times when people talk about aesthetics, I'm like, I simply don't. Um, like, I don't really think about stuff that way a lot of the time. As far as, like, I'm trying to because like, I like there are themes. There are themes that show up in my work, and I feel like
Right.
that's a different thing. Um,
It's fair.
I think probably this is interesting. I feel like if you were an outsider, you could look at like, I remember writing, like, just starting to write Galactic, and I sent, a screenshot of some stuff that I'd written to aforementioned Luke Jordan of Wildwood Games. And they were like, "Oh, I love that this is Venture in space." And I'm like, "No, wait, hold on, this I wasn't trying to make it like Venture. I'm just writing another POV. Like, are you just saying that because I wrote Venture?" And they're like, "No, no, like, there's these similarities between these 2." And I'm like, "Fuck."
If I were to look at your work from an exterior, I would emphasize the clarity and utilitarian nature. Like I think I think you're very clear and you don't put things in your work that doesn't need to be there. you know?
Thank you. Yeah, see, this is the problem. I agree with that. My aesthetic is not having an aesthetic.
Yeah. Uh that's fair. I don't use lines. That's
You
my.
don't use lines?
I do lineless art. That's
Oh,
my really
oh.
dumb answer. My more specific answer would be that I like having a character, who's writing the TTRPG. That's probably the main thing that you can see in my work is that there is often a narrator who appears in pretty much every piece of content for the thing that I'm writing. Um,
Fun.
yeah. Sometimes they're fun and nice. Sometimes they're a fucking bastard. Uh, but that's the fun of it. Um, well, thank you, Jewish Cthulhu. Next question is from Lancer Friend, or sorry, Lancer Fiend, and it's: do you like Lancer? I like Lancer. I have not played Lancer, but I don't know if I would like it.
I really have not looked into Lancer. I'm I mean, it's I feel like everything that I've already said is like it's not my kind of game. Um, yeah, I don't even know much about it. I know that people like it. I know that they played it on Friends at the Table, but I don't think I ever listened to that because
Yeah,
I think that was Road to Palisade, and I've only listened to some of the Road to Palisade.
fair. Sorry, Lancer Fiend. Actually,
Sorry, like,
I would probably
yes.
like Lancer. I think I lied,
Thou
but
hast journeyed far.
hey, Kerbumble, thank you for the raid. Welcome. We're talking to Riley Rethal here about TTRPGs. We're answering emails.
Ooh,
Let me give you a
everyone's
shout out.
favorite activity.
Yeah, we're just about to answer a couple emails and then wrap up. Uh,
I am
third,
just reading that and thinking about the "Do You Like Waffles" song from 100,000 years ago on the internet.
do you like
Do you
Lancer?
like
Yes, we like
Lancer? Do
Lancer.
you like Lancer?
Third question from three different people. I'm doing heavy quotation marks. What question do you wish Eclipse had asked? By interviewer regrets guy.
Um, I don't know. I feel like we've had a good conversation.
I'm glad. Um, what question do I wish I had
That
asked?
feels like the setup for like some kind of rom-com situation.
Yeah, I don't know. Um,
Like gets down on one knee.
God, Jesus. Um, cool. Another question. We don't have a name on this, but just a person has asked. Hi. Hang on, I'll send this to you first. Hi. Question for Riley. Favorite Ace Attorney case. Also favorite AA sidekick. Not TTRPG related. Sorry.
No, thank you so much. My favorite Ace Attorney case is definitely 2-4 Farewell My Turnabout. It's very important to me. I love when Phoenix is angry. I love when he has a bad time. I love that he makes a mistake. I hate the Magatama. I hate the lie detector rock, but everything else about that case is perfect. Even the misogyny hit is the thing that I've said about that case. Is that Edgeworth is like there's some really one of the main like witness people, Adrian Andrews, huge shout out, has some kind of awful stuff said about her, but like it works. It it it's good. It's good. My second favorite is 4-1 Turnabout Trump, because I love a messy lawyer breakup and I love when Phoenix um I loved the moments before I finished that game when I really thought that Phoenix forged evidence for real. Society if. I say that I literally wrote a fic where he does. So
Awesome.
go read When the Chips Are Down by AO3 user RAB14. And my favorite sidekicks are Trucy and Emma. Um, I love Emma Sky. She is so important to me. Um, I love I love her. I love that she is like extremely selfish and like she is a character that I like project all of my like worst things, like my sort of like the worst parts of myself on, where it's like, yeah, I bet that I could be the person who like is just really excited to do forensic and like doesn't really give a shit about society. Like shout out to 5 Wing 6s, I guess. And Trucy is just like, have you guys seen Trucy Wright? Have you seen her?
I don't I should get into Ace Attorney at some point.
You
It's
should get into Ace Journey. It's fun. come closer. It's just a normal video game.
It seems good. I do love mysteries. I got into another fucking Shadows of Doubt kick recently, which is the immersive sim where it's like they generated an entire city and like all of its like financial records and emails and shit. Um, and you have to like solve murders. And I love to solve a crime. So maybe
I mean,
I could get into that.
listen. I'm gonna be real. The crimes in Ace Attorney are often very silly and convoluted.
Fair.
I wouldn't necessarily I'm like so not a video game person, and I'm like not a mystery solver person that like I would just use walkthroughs for everything because I was just there for the story. But like I do know people that like don't do that, who aren't cowards like me and like will try to solve it. But like I will say, there will probably be points where you just can't because the answer is very stupid and unintuitive.
Fair. But it's like that sometimes.
It's just like real life.
Yeah.
Ace Attorney is a perfect simulation of the real life court system. You can quote me on that.
Perfect simulation of the real world. It has infinite levels of detail. If you zoom in.
Ace Attorney is like if autism was real.
Right, which it's currently not, and it's very sad. They won't let you do it anymore.
Yeah, because of woke.
Because of woke. And that's the problem with our world.
Yeah, bring back autism.
Bring back autism. That's all I got. Yeah, there are no more emails. Thank you so much for dropping by.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's been very fun. Yeah, we really went through. This was a slow news week. Hopefully next week, me and I think Lilith, Blue Jay Healer, Juice Cthulhu, we'll be talking about stuff. So that will be fun. But for now, I'll see you all probably. I don't know. Maybe Wednesday I'll play Dragon Age again and cry about how boring it is. But
ooh, fun stream.
Yeah, we're having fun. I'm gonna raid someone who's doing a TTRPG stream. I'm gonna raid Tony+1, who is I don't know what they're doing. They're playing something underfoot. Some sort of AP is happening over there. Say hi. Be nice and take care, everyone. I'll see you in the week. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Remember, if you don't like what you see, you can change it. It's up to you, really. Goodbye, good luck, and have fun!